Hello and welcome to today's review of Transformers Earthrise Astrotrain. So this guy was priced at leader class price point. He's only a Voyager sized figure. And that's kind of to do with Hasbro's looseness with kind of size classes and whatnot nowadays. Now they're thinking mostly about parts count and engineering and things like that, but I'm sorry. It's a BS excuse when a lot of figures that I've seen of larger size classes nowadays, some of the engineering doesn't really compare to some smaller figures, So this guy, I think the primary reason he was a leader class is because they wanted to try and get the whole triple changing thing working properly. And did they? Well, we'll see about that. But generally, the robot mode is fine, right? As you could see, my Astrotrain has yellowed. That's the thing that happens with this. It's Hasbro QC. Just imagine putting out a product for an inflated price and it having bad QC. But there you go. iPhone users rejoice. Not the QC part, just the fact it's all overpriced. Anyway, so he comes with this cart. This cart, which nicely folds up here, does have guns and stuff in frame. There you go. One here, one here, one here. Missile pod on the other side. It folds up like so. Beautiful stuff, right? It's... Wow, okay, I goofed that up. Give me a minute. There you go. Tab it in on this side. It does not want to tab in on the other side. There you go. Brilliant, right? So this actually serves another purpose, but we'll get to that eventually. Generally, robot mode is fine, no real complaints. Looks like Astrotrain. Yeah, he's kind of what you'd expect. Let's just move on to articulation. So articulation for Astrotrain is as follows. He poses fairly averagely, but we'll do it anyway. Shoulders go all the way up like that, but that doesn't really count considering you're not going to do anything like that with him. So at that point, the shoulders get a average ass range, pretty standard stuff, I guess. They do go all the way around at a 360. The wings get in the way, but hey, it is still doable. Just kind of fiddle with the arm a little bit more. Bicep swivel goes all the way around. Cool stuff. Elbows go maximum. They're double jointed. This is for transformation. I wish all Transformers had this regardless. Wrists. Does he have them? Hell no. Modern engineering at its finest. Head swivels round. Has a little bit of downward movement. No upward movement because that's his head sat flush. There's the tiniest bit of side to side and like in both directions. Does it count? Not really, because it doesn't really work. Waist goes all the way around. Legs kick up at a 90. Legs kick back way less because of the wings. There you go. You're welcome. Thighs go all the way around. Knees pull a 90. It's all average, right? Average train. Mid-row train. Let's call him that. Ankles go this much. Yeah. There you go. That's all of his articulation. Bearing in mind, he has no specialty joints. Nothing that really screams, buy me at my £55 price point or whatever it was. Maybe it was 50. Regardless, both of them are too much. I only paid 40 for this guy second hand. Would I recommend him at that price? Maybe. He's fine, I guess. But yeah, whatever. Let's just move on to a size comparison. So for our robot mode size comparison, here we have Studio Series 86 Commander Class Optimus Prime, Kingdom Deluxe Warpath, Thrilling 30s Voyager Blitzwing, Ralph, Steve. So generally, size comparison between all of these guys. So Optimus Prime is not an awful lot taller than an old Voyager was. Now, Blitzwing's a truly flawed figure in his own right. I like him very much, but he is flawed. Optimus Prime is flawed for what it's worth, price point and whatnot, but whatever. Astrotrain, anyway, suffers from Optimus Prime syndrome, just kind of being too expensive for what he actually is. There goes Ralph. He died. He's in danger. Yeah, Warpath. He's a mini bot, but a lot of modern deluxes now are quite small. Look at the legacy Junkions, for instance. I'll cover them eventually, but whatever. So yeah, generally size comparison between all of these, I don't really care. Alright, Astrotrain's just a bigger Decepticon to me. That's it. You know, I wish he was as tall as Prime, but can't win them all, can you? I wish he was as tall as Blitzwing. Can't win them all. But whatever, you know. And the size comparison between these is the most important because they're associated to one another. You know, they're the two original Decepticon triple changes from season 2 of the game. But oh well, you know. So generally, it's whatever. I don't care too much about it. And I'm skipping the alt mode comparisons entirely. I'll just do a section talking about the alt mode because I do not care how either of the modes scale, since they will not scale with anything. Moving on to our transformation. So, for our train mode, it's alright, I guess. You know, generally solid across the board. These wheels don't really tab into place anywhere, so that's definite negative. But generally, you know, with the exception of these grey feet sitting on top, I do think is a really cool transformation decision. But I do think it kind of clashes with the general purple aesthetic of the alt mode and the kind of front end of the train kind of finning compared to the rest of the train it sucks a little bit. I don't think it's entirely accurate to a locomotive, you know, a steam train or whatever, but yeah, can't win them all. From the underside, it looks perfectly fine. I don't care about the underside of vehicles. Generally, though, yeah, solid effort across the board. It's uniform. This is, I think, where a lot of the budget went, you know, painting all of this purple, getting some of the detailing decked out. I would have loved a little bit of silver paint going across where the wheels are and stuff. All of this mechanical detailing would have been awesome, but I'm not too bothered about it, you know. Generally, it just looks solid, and that's all I can ask for this. And as for the cart, here we have the cart, right? But it kind of tabs into the back of there. Does it look daft? So, you know. I think it serves nicely as a cart for the train mode. I would have preferred it connect differently because it's not very secure here. I would have preferred they use like a, I don't know, like a tow bar or something that could act like one, similar to what like model railways have and stuff, where you just hook your car onto the back of the train. That'd be cool. Generally, though, this is cool. I do like it. My only gripe is maybe the gappiness in the front of the train. It's beautifully painted matte black, by the way. I do like that. But yeah, just this line is a little bit ugly. These sides don't hold together perfectly fine, but you know, this is a good alt mode in my opinion. And the wheels do roll. There you go, beautiful stuff. So let's move on to the shuttle mode. So for Astrotrain Shuttle Mode, here we have him transformed fully. Now you may think I have this back section mistransformed because nothing says flush. Oh no, that's actually how it's designed. You cannot slot this in between the arms because the arms don't have the space for it. It's whatever. It was an inventive way to cover up the head, I'll give it that, but other than that, it doesn't really do anything. The train is a bit anemic from the top. You look at him and you go thin and then widen out right as you get to the bottom, and then you've got the kind of front of the shuttle just kind of being a bit thinner. It's weird proportionally. It should be kind of very flush and rectangular and then curving towards the front. That's what it looked like in the show and whatnot, but it's very resemblant of what a real shuttle would look like. This is not accurate to that, but oh well, you know. You take what you can get at this point, especially for, I think, what this is a reuse of the Siege figure. It's got all the battle damage and stuff. It's what they call a package refresh. They take the same toy and just give it a new box to put it in the new toy line. That's what they did with Astrotrain. It didn't make him any easier to get. Yeah, generally though, it's fine. It's definitely the worst of the two modes. I prefer the train mode over the robot mode as well. I think the train mode is this figure's strongest thing really going for it. You know, its articulation's nothing to write home about. The price isn't. This mode isn't. It's solid though. Robot mode's solid, but the train mode is just sublime. So yeah, generally this is cool. There is no way for the shuttle mode to interact with the car. I mean, you could plug it onto the back, but it's not going to do anything, right? Or you could take the guns out and put them on any of the 5mm ports. I don't do that because I think it looks silly. This, however, for the train mode, brilliant weapon storage. So yeah, we're going to end off in robot mode so I can finally show you Astrotrain all decked out. And yeah, let's go. So for my final thoughts on Astrotrain, we're going to cover this whole cart assembly and how it functions with robot mode. So you go, slide these feet off. Yeah, I've kind of given it away by saying no feet, but oh well. Now, see them here, nothing to write home about. All you want to do is plug them on to the bottom of the feet. This is going to give them a good old height boost. I think this might have been the designer's way of kind of excusing the height difference between him and various other figures, just to get Prime over here. Now they're more similar in height, but it still doesn't really solve the problem, you know. Definitely sucks a little bit. He's a bit small, but I'm not the biggest. I don't care too much about that, you know. He's perfectly fine. Then we're going to take all of these guns off, right? We're going to take them all off. There you go. Now, this assembly doesn't do anything else besides kind of fold out how it does. And you could get away with plugging it into the back end of the into the thruster section or whatever. Like, I don't see what purpose this serves, like being able to fold it around and do whatever with it. Like, I don't get it. Yeah, I don't know. I give up on that, alright? I think it's a really cool idea for the bot mode. I do not care about giving them stilettos. Just whatever, you know. Ugh, whatever. You know, it's a lot of silly things. So we got bloody things. And tab. There we go. They're a bit snug, you know, that's kind of good. Better than falling out all the time, but makes them awkward to pull out. So, anyway, with his guns, all we're going to do is simply going to plug the missiles onto the shoulder, plug the gun into the hand, plug the other gun into the hand, and I think this one would go really good on the arm. Maybe. That looks a bit daft. Instead, what we're going to do is we're just going to plug it into his back, I guess. Maybe if he's flying, he can't look up. That's great. But maybe while he's flying, he'd shoot people. I mean, you know, targets and things like that. Anyway, Final thoughts on this guy. I'm rambling. The aesthetics on this guy are an 8 out of 10. All of the modes are solid. Train mode's actually really cool in my opinion. Robot mode is what I think it needed to be, minus the kind of a QC issue with the the discoloration, right, of the grey plastic. Common Hasbro L. Transformation on this guy, between all the modes, it's a 7 out of 10. It's a very straightforward process. Nice amount of steps involved. I like the way the legs work. I like the way the feet work. It does take a couple elements from some third-party Astrotrains. I do have a Mechanics Studio or MechFans Toys Astrotrain that I will like to cover eventually. He's considerably smaller, and he does a lot of things better, you know, but they are very similar in how they work. The articulation in this guy is a 5 out of 10. It's middle of the road, enough said. There's joints, even though he's got kind of elbows that are double jointed and do a bit more than your average figure. Everything else is the average, and in some cases worse. You know, I've handled a lot of figures that have better knees. I've handled better ankle articulation. These are actually sturdy though, and I like the way they lock into place. They have a little tab kind of hidden away here. There you go. Beautiful stuff. I think that's smart. The head is lacking, shoulders, things like that, you know. I can't put them above 5. And finally, value for money. Complicated because I didn't buy him brand new. If I'd brought him brand new, he'd be getting a 5, right? He'd be getting a mid because generally I don't think this is worth 50 quid or whatever. However, I paid 40 for him, and I think that's perfectly okay. You know, it's good enough, right? It's whatever, Hasbro pricing. Generally though, minus the issues with the colouring and the mid-articulation, Astrotrain is generally solid. If you want this Astrotrain, sure. You know, he's a good representation of the character. He's definitely going to scale better with everything else, comparative to past releases like the Titan's Return or Classics. But he is still not to scale. So maybe one day they release a Studio Series 86 Astrotrain. I've seen leakings of listings and stuff for it, but there's no photos or confirmation on what that will be. Hopefully it's a new mold or a retool of this to make him bigger and just kind of improve the areas they messed up on, but we'll see what happens. This has been AnimatedCHUG. Thank you for watching, and join me in my next video where we will do a versus between 2 different figures of the same character trying to do the same thing, but from 2 different time periods. This has been AnimatedCHUG. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.